any other stories that you want to bring up? There's a lot online. Everybody can look at Matthew Suárez under the authors section of the Reader and find all his great stories there. Anything you want to mention you are especially proud of, or that bring back nightmares and memories that you thought, wow, how did I get through this experience?
You mentioned the story is one of my favorites, besides the beer ones, because I love beer. I like beer, and then I read about beer, then they recognized me in the beer scene, they give free beer, so I love my beer stories, but the Spanglish.
Oh, that was a good story.
Spanglish story is probably one of my favorites, how both cities tend to, even like crossing the border, there's a sign that says no line cutting, and in Spanish it says no acortar la línea. That makes no sense.
No, but it's an English idiom that has come into Spanish literally.
And acortar is not even cutting, it would be cortar la línea, and cutting the line is not how, it would be no meterse a la línea, like do not get in the line. And even like, that's a U.S. official sign. That's very
it's not a sign at the border.
Yeah.
Cortar la línea.
Yeah, and it's in English and in Spanish, and the Spanish version makes no sense. I don't know what government official first translated it wrong and then approved it to be a sign.
Did we run that as a cover story, or was that a city?
It was a cover story. It was my second or third cover story. I think second cover story. I interviewed Omar Pimienta, who's a professor in UCSD right now, I think. Chicano Studies, friend of my brother, and then a friend of mine, artist, poet. He writes Chicano Spanglish poems. One of my favorites of them is how he had to memorize when he was 5 years old what he was going to say to Border Patrol. Oh. He spoke Spanish, but he would memorize, like, I'm going to my grandma's house. I'm going to Chula Vista to my grandma. He had to memorize that to tell Border Patrol what to say. So I interviewed him for the Spanglish story. And I basically just went around Chula Vista and Tijuana, taking pictures of signs that were either badly translated or with like a lot of pochismos or Spanglish language, and did the research of where Spanglish comes from. It's from Puerto Rico. And that's probably one of my favorite stories, Spanglish.
So we can come back to the stories and the cross-border subject, but let's talk about you as a photographer, because was it right away that you started taking pictures for us? I can't remember.
No.
So how far? So Matthew's been here about 10 years, maybe 11 years, working for the Reader, writing stories for the Reader. And at some point during those 10 or 11 years, you started taking pictures for us.
Yeah, my first cover, Andy shot it. What's his last name? I can't believe I forgot Andy's last name. But
Andy Boyd?
Yeah, Andy Boyd. He shot my first cover story of the beers in Tijuana. And that's how I met Andy, because they sent him to take pictures of Tijuana, and Andy and I became good friends, and he was just Tijuana a lot frequently. He loves going down there. And I told him my background in photography, because I used to work in Los Angeles chasing celebrities with paparazzi. He's like, you did what? And I was like, yeah, I used to be a photographer. And Andy basically was like, here, have a camera, start taking pictures. And because I didn't want to take pictures after the job I had.
Yeah.
So it was Andy who gave me a camera and said,
he gave you a camera?
Yeah, he gave me a camera. He gave me the camera and was just like, pay me whatever you can when you can.
Wow.
And I still use that camera. It's old. I'm going to give it to my brother soon. So I changed cameras and switched cameras to a nicer one, but I still think I'll money to Andy for that one. But yeah, Andy was basically the one that was just like, have a camera, start shooting. And then Andy started getting busier and busier in the other side of the Reader and sales and marketing. And he was just like, hey, I don't have time to take pictures for the editorial. Can you do it? And that's how I started taking pictures with the Reader.
Okay. So you have some favorite pictures? I know we can insert them into the
like I mentioned before, almost any food picture. And I tend to, with Jessica, who's the art director, I tend to take a lot of pictures and send a lot of pictures. Like if she sends me to a restaurant and just wants a picture of a burger, I'm going to send her like 80 pictures of the same burger so she can like choose the best one. But most of the food pictures I love, just because I get free food and food always.
But that doesn't count. You don't count the extra bennies.
Yeah.
What are your favorite pictures that you enjoy taking as far as the art of your job? Or you don't consider it
There's
art?
Two where they're like long exposure pictures that I set the camera on a tripod, or like not even a tripod, just on a ledge, or I think in a garbage can once. There was one about security cameras in San Diego.
Okay.
You can see a camera out there post, and you see someone walking with a green jacket, and that's me. It looks like there's some person walking with a green jacket, but it's me in the picture that I set up the camera and walks through the frame.
Take a picture of yourself, yeah.
Yeah. And there's another one about a bridge, I forgot which bridge here in San Diego, that had homeless and had like some crime. And I went to the bridge and I did something similar. I needed something that looked like, that the bridge was dangerous. So I laid on the floor, different jacket. It might have been the same green jacket. I put the hoodie on and made myself look like I was a dangerous guy in the bridge. So when I stuck myself in and the pictures, I like those. My favorite is my niece holding a bucket of strawberries in Costa because she looks adorable. And putting my niece on the cover of a magazine is always nice. Can't think of any others. There's many though.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do is after we get done here, we can maybe you go back home and look at your what you've taken for us.
Yeah, no.
Come up with a list, and we'll post it. We'll post it as part of this too.
I have a big collection, and then the Spanglish story was also my picture, and then my own covers. The one that I mentioned in Punta Final, and you can see the girls the girl and her cousins just looking at the stars. And I remember how when I climbed that rock, and I was just taking pictures all night. So that's my favorite album that I've taken pictures. Because we went so far away and the stars looked amazing, and I took pictures of the Milky Way.
Was it down in Sonora? Where was that?
No. It's Punta Final, which is like 7 hours and a half away from Tijuana, like 5 hours. Like Puerto Citos.
It's in Baja. It's in Baja.
Yeah, it's still in Baja Norte. It's inland. It's after San Felipe, like an hour and a half below San Felipe.
Okay.
And it's like not impossible to get there, but like there was a tire that said Punta Final. And if you don't see that, you're not going to find it. There's a small entrance, and then you drive through, like, basically a dirt road for 20 minutes, and it opens up to a beautiful beach.
Wow.
With, like, I think they only allow, like, 14 cars to go in there.
Wow.
And it's just nature. It's beautiful. It's completely empty. It was over 110 degrees, and I camped there, but it was still worth it. It was an amazing trip that I loved.
Great. Well, listen, this has been wonderful. We've covered everything we need to so far, and if anybody wants to find Matthew's work, you can usually find his stories under the authors tab on the homepage of the Reader, and the photos. Well, they're there very often.
Yeah,
especially the cover stories. You'll see credits from Matthew, so you get to see his pictures very often.
52 readers come out every year, and almost every year it's been like 20, 30.
Oh, there you go, almost half.
Yeah, almost half. If it's not an illustration or like the author had their own photo, you should send me. And
Okay, perfect. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. I hope everything got recorded.